If I can invite TourRadar. So just press down to go forward.
Okay, cool. Good. Can you all hear me okay? All fine? Yep, great. So hi, my name's Travis, co-founder and CEO of TourRadar. And I want to say thank you to Boost for having me. Obviously, great to present a bit about the journey, how we're working with them, and hopefully answering a few questions of yours. But to kick things off before we get into the meat, who here loves to travel? Put your hand up. Excellent, that was what I was hoping for. Who here has taken an organized adventure like a safari or a sailing holiday or a trek or anything like that? Good, actually, yeah. A few customers we can convert today, hopefully. But welcome to TourRadar. So I want to give you a little bit about the origin story of how we came about. So I am one of the co-founders, my brother Sean. He and I co-founded TourRadar back in about 2010. And we were one of the many Aussie expats living here in London. So coming here is always a bit like coming home. Lived here for about 4 years. And during that time, we Aussies love to sort of make the most of it. We organised group trips to an island castle. We went to France skiing. We did all these kind of different trips with friends. And we did this one trip where we wanted to go sailing in Croatia. And I booked it with a US provider online. I wired $5,000 to them. And basically 12 of my friends and my brother all flew into Trieste in Italy. And so imagine yourself in an airport. You're there, euphoric, you've just caught up. So it's been a year since you've seen each other. And then there's just something feels a bit wrong. And you're like, where's our transfer? Or where's the person to pick us up and take us to what we're supposed to do? And basically, we cut a long story short, called the US team and the place we actually booked it through. No answer. It was the middle of the night. This is 2007, so there was no chatbots then, obviously, to answer any of your questions. And we were starting from Zadar. So Zadar is just a port down in Croatia. And so we took an overnight bus, long, terrible journey, grumpy, tired, turned up there. And the marina walked around and walked into a few different providers and finally walked into one and said, okay, do you have a booking for Pitman? And she's like, looked and said, yes, Mr. Pitman, where have you been? We've been waiting for you. And I'm like, well, we've been waiting for you. Where were you in Trieste? And like, we didn't get that message. And so all these things of customer support and phone calls and secure payments, that's what we've tried to change with our platform on TourRadar. So we aggregate 2,500 tour operators from the entire planet. So we cover about 180 different countries, 50,000 different adventures that you can book. And it's a complex process. So these are 8-day, 10-day adventures that you're booking. 3,000 euros is the average amount that you're actually spending. And basically, an organized adventure includes everything, your accommodation, a guide, all the things you're going to do on that trip. And imagine when you're actually researching this is a pretty complex thing that you want to get right. You're putting $3,000 down, you're taking 8 days out of your travel holidays that you get per year. You want to make sure it's good. This ecosystem is pretty archaic, so we're a pretty non-tech savvy industry as a whole, and that's what we're really trying to change. So going into the pandemic, we were a B2C site. So we were TourRadar.com, that was it. But over the pandemic, we realized, how does Google, how does Apple, how does Facebook, how did they build out a platform strategy? How do they actually enable and digitize a whole ecosystem? And that's what we really set out to do. So we went from just having TourRadar.com to actually building out solutions for some of the biggest retailers in the world. So Flight Centre, you probably know, they use us, a bunch of other travel companies as well. And what we've been building in the middle is democratizing tools for our tour operators. So think of a tour operator in Ecuador or Namibia. They are like a 2 or 3 person band. They're excellent at delivering amazing adventures, but they have zero idea about technology, about payments, about anything like that. And that's what we're really trying to do, is give them tools that they can actually use to grow their business. Okay. All right, so mentioned a few numbers here, 2,500 operators, 50,000 adventures, 6 million different departure dates, lots of different options, and travelers, obviously there's complexity when you're trying to decide on these things. To add another layer of complexity, We've got 5 different languages. We're a global travel company. So we started out in English only. During the pandemic, we launched German and French and Spanish as well as Dutch. And the journey itself for a customer, think of yourself, you kind of know where you want to go or when you want to go, but you don't truly know the details. And so you start out searching, putting in a destination where you're actually maybe a little bit more generic in what you're actually looking for and the information. So these are all considerations from a virtual assistant side of how do we actually provide the right answers at the right time. And so when you get down to the actual adventure you're looking at, you want to know more details about that. So you actually go down. Then when you're actually booking, maybe you've had some payment issues. So you actually want to ask, okay, what's happened with this or what are my payment options? And so this context switching is obviously where the difficulty and the complications come in. And then post-booking, clearly there's a separate set of questions or things you want to know after you've booked before you're actually about to take that journey. So today I'm going to present a couple of the solutions that we've built alongside Boost. So the first one being chat and consumer facing. And then we've actually built some pretty nifty internal tools that might give you some ideas of how you can actually use that as well. So first of all, we've actually used the generative actions for our tour recommendations. So you can imagine someone knows they have a holiday coming up. They kind of don't really care where they go. But they might have, seen pop culture and they might be like, okay, I really, White Lotus or whatever it might be, they might put in a destination. So in this case, our agent or our virtual assistant is called Scout. He's our spiritual animal, he's a llama. And he actually helps people along the journey. So this person said, look, they want to go to Japan. And what we've been able to do through the generative actions is actually go into our algorithm and actually look and say, okay, what are the 3 best tours for this particular person? Okay, so here we've actually managed to get the top 3. Nice carousel that's showing. Obviously, formatting and everything can always be improved, but we're getting to a nice state now where it's actually a bit more readable, exciting, inspirational for the customer. And this is where we're really wanting to get people down the funnel as quickly as possible. So 50,000 different adventures, it's overwhelming. People are like, which one's for me? How do I find that exact one? And so right now, this is very generic. The future is about how do we connect our first-party data and actually make this more personal. So we see a journey on average of a customer. They visit TourRadar 15 times before they actually book. So there's lots of data, lots of filtering, lots of emails they've clicked on, app notifications they've gone through. So how do we bring that personalized data into this journey as well? And that's the exciting thing that we're pushing the Boost team to challenge them on how do we actually do that as well. But I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to get there. So we also leverage our LLM for the context-aware chat. And that's really, you think about you've gone from generic, where do I want to go, to actually, I'm really interested in this particular tour, but there's a page that's this long. And there's a 2,000-word itinerary from the 8 to 9 days. There's so many different things like meeting points, what activities am I doing? It's overwhelming for the customer again. And the information's there, but it's difficult to find. And so that's what we've actually managed to do here, where when you're on that specific page, we obviously trigger in the background that this is the tour, we feed the LLM, and then we actually start to allow the customer to ask questions about that specific trip. So again, getting from really high up the funnel, further down the funnel to actually getting the answers that they need. So when we started, we actually had a 50% deflection rate with our existing provider. And so we were like, okay, let's get at least baseline to that level. We went live 3 months ago, and we actually had 50% deflection rate in the beginning, which was great. So baseline was met, but we were like, how do we get higher? How do we build that? So we're actually at around 70% now. That's obviously through tweaking. And what I really want to mention about the Boost system and why we ended up going with Boost instead of other providers was we've got a great tech team, but they obviously have priorities. And there's only a certain amount of things in the roadmap that can get done. And so we really wanted to make sure there was a solution that the frontline operational team and the CS team could actually drive and tweak and improve. And that's what's been really nice. That 50 to 70% that we're at today has been a lot of the frontline people just tweaking intents and actually how do we actually improve the flows. And that's been really great to see. I think we've got some work to do to get to the 97.5% that Trig have got, but I'm pretty confident we can get there. But yeah, really great to see the progress there, obviously within a very short amount of time as well. So now we move on to the internal tooling stuff, which might give you some ideas of what you could be using as well. So we've got a customer support team in Philippines, in Brisbane, in Toronto and Vienna. So we kind of 24/7 cover the world. And there's always sort of internal messages and things that need to be done. So imagine a call's come through, there's tasks that need to be obviously written down, or you can actually document, or actually messages that get sent off to the customer. And what our team built here was we actually said, okay, are you creating a message that's for a sales message, so pre-booking? Is it actually like a care, so it's actually a post-booking issue or a question? Or is it a complaint? So complaints resolution is CR. And so that then changed the prompts that we feed it to obviously give different answers and create a nice structured response that with the CS agent can very quickly click, and send off and get away. We've seen about a 50% time saving from the CS side of things. And for them, like we have a CS immersion where every person in the company sits with our customer support team. I recently did it for 2 hours and the team were just pumped about this. They were like, look, these repetitive, annoying questions that you always have to answer just gets click, book, done, and send off. And the other part of this, there's always internal notes. So to get the messages across to the Philippines team or the Toronto team, wherever it might be, there's this generate note. And so they can look, the Boost system looks at the message or looks what's been written and then automatically creates this internal note, completely automated now. So the team, again, pumped that they don't need to be kind of making these notes that then kind of get, take up time where they're not actually on the front line, maybe selling or doing something a little bit more productive. All right, the other thing, so I showed you the tour recommendations on the tour detail page to the consumer facing side. This is actually internal. And so we would get a lot of fairly dumb questions where people go, I want to go to Japan, and that's it. And so then the CS agent would have to go to the website, maybe find some tours, copy the URLs, come back, put them in. Whereas now we use this recommend tour, and actually that's just creating the message automatically using the same algorithm and everything there, which was fantastic. Again, time saving, but also leveraging the algorithm we have to make sure we're recommending the best tours for the customer as well. All right, so future roadmap, we're pretty ambitious of what we want to achieve and how we want to reimagine how this product is booked. So this has always been an offline product. People picked up a phone, they walked into the travel agent. I had people in the very beginning of my journey say, you'll never get someone booking a $5,000 journey online. Our record booking today is $120,000. So it's about trust, and it's about how do you actually get that across and getting people to their answer as quick as possible. And so we really feel that there's a lot more we can be doing around the recommendations, feeding in personalization, so all of our first-party data, how do we actually get that into the system? And that's going to go a long way to helping obviously reduce the friction, but also reducing the need for more CS people and actually automating as much as possible. We haven't done virtual voice yet, so it's interesting to see how different companies are using that. We're excited to do it because we do find the North Americans love to talk, they love to pick up the phone. That is our biggest source market, so if we can reduce that as much as possible, so we don't need to be manning the team with more and more CS people as we scale, that's obviously a good thing. And then the one thing that we're really excited about, and we're talking to Boost about how do we partner on this, is what we call our AI in a box. And so think of all these small tour operators, they're 2,300 that we work with in these places like Ecuador, Tanzania. They've got no idea how AI works or what do they do. And so they just hear it. They hear the industry news, they know they have to do something, but they don't really know what. And we feel that we're obviously going through this process where, optimizing this, we're making it world class, and we're leveraging all of their own tour content to actually feed this. So how can we put that in a box for them to actually use on their own websites or in their WhatsApp channels or whatever they might use? So we see a massive opportunity of democratizing AI for these small SME providers and actually allowing them to be able to tap into AI, but in a way that's affordable and actually easy to understand as well. Finally, replacing intent tree with Gen Action. So we do know that with the guardrails, and that's a benefit of Boost, obviously putting these guardrails, but it's time intensive, and getting started takes a lot of effort to get that off the ground. And so the more we can replace that with Gen Actions, the better. And obviously we have to make sure it doesn't go off-road and do anything we don't want it to do. But that's really something that we're pretty keen on getting more Gen Actions rolled out so that we don't have to have our CS team or our trainers actually going in and updating all of that content in the intents all the time. And that's it. So any questions? Yes.
I'm really interested in how you've gone quite fast on the Gen Actions part. Can you talk a bit about how you weighed up the balance of risk and reward?
Yeah, so obviously there's been some examples of it going wrong. Like Canada was one, but for us, some of this it's pre-booking, or most of it's pre-booking, where we're not passing something from the chat that's going to commit us to booking something completely false. Like, so they're not going to get a $20,000 vacation for $3,000, or we're not going to mess it up in that way, because they'll always end up on a kind of normal part of the site where it'll show as something's wrong or different to what maybe the chat said. And so we could have weighed up the risk of, okay, we want to have this deflection rate, like we've seen with the tour recommender, up to about 85% has been deflected now. And that's fantastic, because otherwise the customer would have to ask the question, wait 48 hours basically to get a response from the tour operator, and then actually go. And so we felt we were maybe a little bit different to some of the organizations in this room, where we can move a bit faster, we can actually break things and kind of ask for forgiveness, if we actually mess it up. But we didn't feel that it was going to completely ruin our reputation or cause any issues on the payment side or anything like that. So, yeah. Sure.
So you went live 3 months ago.
Yep.
How long did it take to actually build the first phase that went live?
I believe it was about a month, the POC, wasn't it? I think it was 4 weeks. Yeah.
4 weeks.
Yeah. 3 weeks plus holidays. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. So it was pretty quick to get the first version off the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add to his question on the personalization factor,
Mm-hmm.
how are you managing the GDPR issues? Like, some information might have been given across,
Yep.
and that data you're putting in Genia and it comes across somewhere. So how do you handle such kind of cases? Because that can happen in the future as well. Customer sharing information is being fed into a LLM.
Yep.
It goes out. So how do you manage those kind of cases?
Yeah. So PII information, obviously we don't like. So if there's anything that is asked for, so give me the email address that I typed into this, and then to give it back. Of course, we don't repeat that back. Like it's sort of, there's guardrails in place to prevent that. But yeah, no, we haven't yet. It's a good question, where we haven't personalized it to a point where we recognize that this is a customer, like, so who's just come in randomly. They have to log in. They have to identify themselves before they can actually ask a specific question about their booking or anything like that. So they have to pass through before they can actually get that type of information. Yeah.
So any plans of integrating with social feeds? Like the customer might have a social network, like any plans of customizing it? Because ask rather than asking the questions to the customer,
Yep.
seeing from his social feeds, and then I think it can be one feature roadmap as well.
Yeah. Do you mean asking their friends or yeah?
No, not asking, because see, they might be posting something in the social feeds. Right?
Yep.
So rather than asking questions by the name and all, you can go ahead and find out their information, what they're interested or what all these things. Like,
Yes, and so that's part of us getting more first-party data in about that particular customer and knowing more about them. And so one thing we've seen some other travel companies do it quite well is they have like an onboarding where they're like, okay,
because
yeah, what do you like to do? Or yeah,
just give my name because based on my past experiences, the options will
Correct.
be automatically customized.
Yeah.
So
No.
it'll be like,
Exactly, and so it's like a wizard of, okay, have you travelled on a tour before? Like, you know, which company did you book with? So then we learn, are they more high end? Are they more adventurous or whatever else? So
you
that's
can-
definitely a part
you
where,
can rate the customers also based on
Correct.
certain levels of whether this will be a prospective customer or not.
yeah, and I think we understand the journey to book one of these adventures, and so that's where we've really got to get to with our prompts is actually holding their hand down that, you know, funnel so that they know, okay, I didn't know I needed to ask that question about this, but we're actually prompting them to actually ask that. So yeah, that's where we see the potential really going forward as well. Yeah. Sure.
You were delivering reasonable containment with your previous provider.
Yeah.
How did you know you needed to move? And what were the factors you considered that left you with Boost?
Yeah, so it was not using any AI at all. That was just it was HubSpot that we were using, just a chat solution, and we are sitting on billions of messages. We've got all this information of the tour. We just knew there was something that we had to unlock, like, you know, and that we were the platform in this industry that could do that, but we needed a solution to be able to unlock that. And so that's where we looked at other providers. The thing we liked about Boost was just what I mentioned about the collaboration between operations, like frontline, and tech. Because there were some solutions we found that were just going to require every change required a product manager or an engineer. And you just don't have enough, obviously, resources to just always man that. But this combination is what we wanted to do. So yeah, we felt we needed to do something with conversational AI. We tried some stuff actually on our own, which was just miserable. Like, so it was like very disappointing, like to see. And then we realized that's why we needed to go with a vendor, actually. Yeah. Yes.
So are you doing a bit of kind of NLU funneling to get you to the right kind of area and then letting the Gen AI do its thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we at the moment have to be prompting them, like providing them
Yeah.
with some prompts to actually say, do you want a recommended tour or are you looking for a general question? So hopefully that can get better over time where we don't need to have those prompts, where it actually just contextually kind of picks
Yeah.
up what you want, but that's what we're having to do at the moment. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes.
I know you said before booking, is it 15 visits you said?
Yeah.
Before booking. Do you have a lot of repeat users either once they've booked or when they've been on their tour?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what your share of repeat users is and if the experience would differ?
I don't know if the experience is different, but we see around 30% of our customers or bookings are repeat. So in a given month, we see about 30%, 40% of people actually have booked with us in the past. And what we're seeing, we've just launched a new mobile app about 6 months ago, and it's getting better and better. And so people are now realizing the experience there is better than on the web because the web has all this legacy and it's obviously been built over the last 10 years or so. It's completely fresh on mobile, and that's where we want to build in the Boost solution to mobile to actually make that even a better experience, you know, for people as well. So, yeah.
And would you use that in-app because I imagine they're logged in so you know a bit more about
Correct.
them?
Yeah, you know everything. So they have to have a profile to be able to, you know, access, and so we're seeing great sign-up rates and registration rates, but then we want to actually then feed that data into how we actually personalize as well. Yeah.
Great.
Good. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.